The first full weekend of summer here at Memphis Motorsports Park has challenged everyone, fans, drivers, and crews with a new problem: how to stay cool and competitive. It is hot in Memphis. This live shot shows you right now it is 98 degrees on this thermometer, which earlier today was pegged at over 125 degrees. Currently the wind south-southwest at 55% humidity. The heat index an almost intolerable 105. But if you think it's hot now, a little bit earlier today, it was really warm. Hi, everybody. I'm Dave McClelland. Along with Steve Evans and Bob Fry, we're here at Memphis Motorsports Park sweating along with everybody that is jammed into the grandstands. The one thing about all of this heat, it creates lots of problems for the racers. Whether you run nitromethane, whether you run gasoline, if you got a supercharger, injector, it doesn't matter. You have your own separate set of problems. Steve has a chance to look at the problems for the nitro cars.
Nitro crew chiefs as a group are a greedy lot. Even in terrible conditions like this, they want cool air horsepower. And you know what? They can get it, and I'll show you how. First thing, increase the compression ratio. New set of pistons. Tickle the nitro mix a little bit, maybe from 94 to 95.5. Very, very important. Drive the blower a bit harder. Put a bigger pulley on the bottom, a smaller one on top, or both. And finally, take these magnetos, a gentle twist to the left for more ignition timing. But caution, do not run this at sea level on a nice day. You have built yourself a bomb. Pro stock, whole nother deal.
How tough was it on the pro stockers? Let me put it in perspective. After one round of qualifying, we had a bump spot in the mid-730s. Heck, we haven't had a 730 bump in pro stock since man was walking on the moon and folks were all going to Woodstock. You all remember Woodstock, don't you? Now, let me tell you why it's tough for these cars. They don't have nitromethane fuel. They don't have superchargers. All they can use to make power, gasoline, and two big 4-barrel carburetors. And, man, does that make it tough on a 2,300-pound race car. And exactly how tough was it to qualify? Well, just ask Kurt Johnson. For the first time ever, he failed to make the field.
The Die-Hard ladder for funny car racing found John Force at the top of the list for the 6th time this season with a great 5:08. Number 2 qualifier was Cruz Pedregon, and the guy down on the 16th position on the bump was Ronnie Young. He had the honors of racing John Force in round number 1. In this first round matchup, Kenji Okazaki and Jim Dunn's Moon Eyes was in the far lane. The near lane, the Smokin' Joe's Mustang, driven by Whit Bazemore. Bazemore smoked the tires and Kenji smoked an engine into a ball of flame. Okazaki hit the fire bottles, knocking down the blaze instantly. He brought the car to a safe stop out on the racetrack. Let's take a look. You can see Bazemore's out of it by this point. The engine exploding just before the finish line for Kenji Okazaki. The good news is he came out of it okay. Steve was there when he got the car stopped.
Kenji, big yellow car go boom.
Again, is that what you want to say? Well, anyway, we won a round. That's important. But we broke the motor or something, that's, happens.
Try to fix it?
Oh, yeah, we're going to try to fix it. We're going to win a round.
Kenji Okazaki's team just won their first round since Atlanta, but Big Jim Dunn and Kenji have big-time problems. A lot of fire underneath, burned out the wire harnesses and everything. They don't know if they've got enough parts here to fix the race car, but moreover, they don't know if they've got enough time. But they're going to put a new bullet in and see if they can make it for round number 2.
Here are the pairings for round number 2 with Kenji slated to meet Tony Pedregon. Bob had a chance to catch up with one of our quarterfinalists.
As hot as it is, what is this man doing sitting out here watching the races in his fire suit?
I come down here to watch Tony, but I told you it's not hot in the fire suit. It's cooler inside than it is outside. Just like Kenji, he's on fire down there. He'll be hotter out of the car than he is in it, trust me.
Round number 2 found John Force in the near lane in the Castrol machine against Paul Smith and his drag racing school, Oldsmobile Cutlass. A closer race than Force wanted. A 1/10 of a second separated them, with John Force having a 5:22 winning time at 299 miles an hour. And as you saw on the run, John had to lift off the throttle at least once. A great run for that kind of driving, 5:22 at 299. Here's the replay. Take a look at Force in the near lane. Car started to move around on him. There he started to lose traction. And at that point, Paul Smith was well ahead of John Force. probably made him just a little bit nervous, but by the time they reached the finish, more than a car-length daylight.
John, old Paul Smith came after your lunch, buddy. At half track, I thought you were dead meat.
He really is. You know, he's a veteran, and he knows how to play the game. The hardest thing for me was not to break concentration, because at 400 feet, he had half a car on me. I still had to pedal it, do what it did, and then it trucked on down through there. So I don't know what happened, but he's a veteran. That's why we love the guy.
You're alive.
Mark Oswald, runner-up at Columbus, defeated Chuck Etchells in the first round. Tim Wilkerson was his victim in round number 2. Cruz Pedregon defeated Jim Blake in the first round when Blake was unable to answer the call. The number 2 qualifier then whipped Tom Hoover in his second round match. Tony Pedregon at the wheel of the Team Force Castrol car was to have run Kenji Okazaki. Kenji unable to show due to the engine problems after that explosion. Tony Pedregon smoked the tires.
It had to happen sooner or later. Now it's the time to race your own brother in the Final Four.
Yeah, you know, I kind of felt it coming on. Knew that we'd be racing soon. I feel good about it. You know, can't treat him any different than anyone else, so we're just going to have to race him like we would anyone else.
And you need to get a hold of the racetrack, because he probably will.
Yeah, they're running real good right now, so, you know, there's a lot of potential here, and I feel we can pull out a pretty good number.
Go get him.
ESPN Speed World's live coverage of the Pennzoil Nationals is brought to you by the more than 1,325 AutoZone stores across America. AutoZone, the best parts in auto parts. Funny Car semi-final action from Memphis coming your way next on ESPN Speed World. An ancient Egyptian capital also has a pyramid, but this one is made of steel and glass instead of stone, and in today's heat, this Memphis feels like the one from the African desert. Here at Memphis Motorsports Park, the heat has got everybody in its grip. Here's the semifinal round of competition in Funny Car. John Force, under the direction of his crew chief Austin Coyle, who precisely stages him where he needs to be. The opponent, the runner-up just a week ago at Columbus, Ohio, the In-N-Out Burger car driven by Mark Oswald, the former Winston champ. Oswald runs into problems. John Force at a great 5:21 elapsed time at a speed of 298 miles an hour goes into the finals. Steve?
Well, I'm with John Force. In fact, I'm upwind from John Force. He's still wearing that fire suit, starting to get a little gamey. This has been a strange racetrack for you. In '92, you saw Elvis at 1,000 feet on fire.
Well, that's true, and it's hot out here. We're still on fire, and that's why I stay in it, to keep me down. But we got tricked out at Columbus, and we're really watching this heat that it don't bite us again.
You came back in '93 and won right here at Memphis. Got back on the horse.
It's a beautiful, beautiful facility here, and the new owner's going to put millions of dollars into it, make it better for the fans. But I like it just the way it is.
Good luck to you, John, in the final.
Thank you.
Okay, right now, let's go to Big Mac for the other half of the semis.
And what a pairing this was. The Pedregon brothers. Tony Pedregon driving for John Force against his brother, Cruz. Now, Cruz, of course, the wheelman for the McDonald's Pontiac, owned by former NFL All-Star Hall of Fame football coach Joe Gibbs. These two have only met one time before. It was in Topeka a year ago, and at that race, Cruz won. But now it is even. Tony Pedregon evens out the match with his brother. And Tony does exactly what John Force expects him to do, and that is stop the competition with a great 5:29 elapsed time at 288 miles an hour. Watch this again. Just before these two met at the starting line, there was a lane switch. The lane choice was with Cruz. They moved over into the left-hand lane, and as a result, the lane nearest the camera yielded some loss of traction, and Tony streaked to the win. Here with Tony is Bob.
Well, here they are, the brothers Pedregon, and your first meeting certainly didn't disappoint anybody. Well, maybe Cruz. You won it with a 29.
Well, that's great. I knew it would be a close race, and I got a lot of respect for my brother. I love him, but, you know, there's a war going on out here, and, you know, we're just happy to do it for Castrol, Mac Tools, and Pontiac, all our sponsors.
Did you guys chat a little bit, Cruz, before the race?
No, we're professionals out here. There's no chatting out here. I'm real disappointed there, but, you know, they had the better car today, and Tony did a good job out there.
Fine show, gentlemen.
And the head-to-head matchup, John Force and his teammate Tony Pedregon. They've met 3 times this season. Force leads the series 2-1. This will be the 2nd time this year that these two have met in the final round. It was Tony Pedregon beating the boss down in Atlanta. There's more racing action coming your way from Memphis Motorsports Park. Sports Park in the Pennzoil Nationals. We're live on ESPN Speed World, and there is so much to do at an NHRA Winston event. If racing's not your action, boy, take a look at that midway just jammed with parts and accessories. Tomorrow is day 1 for the X Games, where 400 world-class athletes compete for $300,000 in prize money in extreme categories, including street luge. So catch all the excitement from Providence, Rhode Island on ESPN. Up for Pro Stock's Ricky Smith on top for the 3rd time this season. Number 16, Larry Morgan, with a 7:19. The number 2 qualifier, Steve Schmidt, who has a unique way of dealing with his engines.
To keep track of 13 Pro Stock power plants here this weekend, Steve Schmidt has given them all names. There's Hootie over there from Hootie and the Blowfish. And there's Kimmy, named after the daughter of his customer, Alan Johnson. And riding in Steve's Oldsmobile this weekend is Jethro, straight out of the Beverly Hillbillies. Remember all the muscles Jethro had?
Well, he used some of those muscles to defeat Todd Patterson in round number 1. That advanced him into the 2nd round. There are the pairings for round number 2 racing in Pro Stock here at Memphis. It was back in round number 1 that one of the great races of the season took place. The veteran, Bob Glidden, against the rookie, Billy Huff. Nearly identical reaction times. You probably could not tell who moved first, but Bob Glidden did by 0.02 of a second, and that was the margin of victory. They both ran the same elapsed time.
That was one heck of a drag race. It's a shame either one of you had to lose, but you won by 2,000.
Good race. It was good for us. These young guys are tough on us old men.
You both cut brilliant lights.
It was close. I felt on the way down, I felt like he was a little bit ahead of me. It was hard to tell from in the car. I tell you what, it's a joy and a privilege racing this spot.
They're having fun.
Separate generations, but both of them highly competitive. Ricky Smith faced Bob Glidden in round number 2. It was Barry Grant up against Warren Johnson. And that Smith-Glidden race had all the potential for being a duplicate of the Billy Huff-Glidden matchup of 1 round earlier. But it was not to be. This time Glidden got out, had some problems, got into tire shake, and Ricky Smith went on with the win at a 7:25 and advanced into the semifinals.
Ricky, tell me about trying to drive this car down this greasy quarter mile. What's it like?
Man, it's about like being on an icy road at 75, 80 mile an hour, if you can imagine that, just kind of dicing around. I mean, the biggest thing you got to do is get it in gear early every time, and that's hard to do when you're bouncing and shaking and carrying on, but hey, we're making rounds.
I felt like I was in the car.
Me too. Warren Johnson and his Pontiac Firebird defeated Troy Coughlin in the 1st round. Barry Grant was his victim in round number 2. Jim Yates, the points leader, qualified 3rd. He defeated Mike Thomas in round number 1. George Marnell, the victim of the Firebird, in round number 2. Here is Steve Schmidt and Chuck Harris in round number 2 racing. Harris in the near lane in the GoRacing.com entry. Schmidt with his Dyna Gear Oldsmobile. Oh, what a race. Schmidt was having a 7:30 elapsed time, and he won it on a hole shot by 0.06 of a second. Got the advantage off the starting line over Harris. And Schmidt used that advantage totally to his benefit. He was able to hold on. The hard-charging Harris fell short.
Old Jethro under the hood needed a little help, and you gave it to him. A great hole shot win, 30 feet to 24.
It's about time. I'm beginning to wonder whether this old guy can still drive.
You'd like to spread it out over a few rounds instead of using up your reaction time all in one race.
Well, we really didn't know what to do for sure with that lane, and the car left great. It was good in 2nd gear, and I put it in 3rd gear, and I mean, it was bad shape. We were really shook in 3rd and 4th.
We're talking.
You betcha. One more time, I hope.
These 500 cubic inch engines taxed to the limit here at Memphis Motorsports Park with all the heat. We've got semifinal Pro Stock